Sir, the fleet is maintaining 20 knots. Sealing and visibility unlimited, and there's no sign of the enemy.
They could be anywhere. They'll be planning a big attack. It's what I do. Sweep the area. Get recon everywhere. I want them found and destroyed. And if we find anything else with Japanese markings, we'll deal with those too.
The Japanese main force is approaching, sir.
Good. Then we have our primary target.
Enemy ship in visual, sir.
We've got incoming planes on our radar, sir. Looks to be an enemy airstrike.
From their distance and course, it looks like they're launching from an airfield beyond our reach. We can take on the planes, but not their base.
Get it! She's sinking fast! I've lost control! Enemy fire's being directed at us! We're taking fire! Enemy aircraft incoming! They're attacking with everything they have! I've lost all control! I'm heading in!
There's a huge enemy ship in visual, sir. Yamato class. She's steaming your way.
If that thing gets close enough to fire those guns at us, we're a dead duck. Fighters, stop her. Throw everything you can at that battleship.
Enemy fire's being directed at us! Sir, we have sighted an enemy vessel. She's going to the bottom. We're taking fire! With everything they have. one of our squadrons, sir. And with everything they have. I'm going down. Oh boy, we got another one. We got him. Enemy squadron is down. Bandit destroyed. Oh man, we hit one. Enemy squadron has been taken out. Enemy squadron destroyed, sir. Mayday, mayday, we're going down. We're taking fire. They're attacking with everything they have. Enemy fire's being directed at us. He's going to the bottom. They're attacking with everything they have. I've lost control. We're taking fire! We did it! She's sinking fast! I'm going down! She's going to the bottom. Enemy ship in visual, sir. We've lost one of our squadrons, sir. We did it! She's sinking fast!
The Japanese are retreating, sir.
Is that confirmed?
Absolutely, sir. She's finished. And we've broken the Japanese formation. They're turning and retreating.
I've lost control! We've lost one of our squadrons, sir. Enemy fire's being directed at us! Sir, we've lost contact with our squadron. She's going to the bottom. I've lost control. Enemy fire's being directed at us. I'm going down. We've lost one of our squadrons, sir. We did it! She's sinking fast! We're taking fire! I've lost all control! I'm heading in! Mayday! Mayday! We're going down! They're attacking with everything they have! Directed at us! I'm hit! I'm going in! Sir, we've lost contact with our squadron. They're attacking with everything they have! Going to the bottom. We did it! She's sinking fast! We've lost one of our squadrons, sir. Going to the bottom. Sir, we've lost contact with our squadron. We're taking fire!
Enemy battleship is just outside firing range, sir.
We have one last chance to destroy her. It's all or nothing. Her or us.
No! Mayday! Mayday! We're going down! Enemy fire's being directed at us!
Mighty fine work. They don't come bigger than that, and our boys came through for us. Makes you proud.
That was the last of them. For now, anyhow.
Victory! And boy, we deserve that. Sir,
Yes, son. Yes, we did. But they'll be back. They'll fight to the last ship.
Sir, the fleet is maintaining 20 knots. Sealing and visibility unlimited, and there's no sign of the enemy.
So we wait. Where are they, though?
Intelligence is earmarked tonight for the attack.
Then it's only a matter of time before we get to spring our little surprise on them.
Sir, enemy vessel bearing 350, heading right for us.
What are they doing? I see. They think we've walked into their trap.
All vessels, hold formation.
発見されました。哨戒艇が接近。弱音を吐くな。己に与えられた任務を遂行せよ。
はい。粉骨細心の覚悟で当たります。
Our PT boats are ready to roll out, sir.
Then launch them right away.
Sir, I think we've found the enemy flagship.
Good. Then we have our primary target.
Sir, we have sighted an enemy vessel. Sir, we're under attack. She's going down. Launch the lifeboats. We're going down. down! All hands, abandon ship!
We've taken out an enemy vessel.
We're taking fire! We're sinking! All hands, abandon ship! We're going down! All hands, abandon ship!
We're coming under enemy fire.
We did it! She's sinking fast! Pumps are overwhelmed, sir. We're sinking. Launch the lifeboats. We're going down. Sir, fire has broken out on board. She's going to the bottom. Pumps are overwhelmed, sir. Enemy ship in visual, sir.
Got him with that one.
We're going down. All hands, abandon ship. Sir, we have sighted an enemy vessel.
Sir, we've just received a message from the 7th Fleet. It reads, "My situation is critical. Fast battleships and support by airstrikes may be able to keep enemy from destroying our CV."
But the Japanese don't have enough ships for that. What are they using to hammer the 7th like that?
Maybe a destroyer flotilla? Or battleships?
Guessing is pointless. Something's doing the damage. And we're too far away. The 7th Fleet's got to take care of itself.
Sir, we're under attack.
She's going to the bottom. We're sinking. All hands, abandon ship. We did it. She's sinking fast. Sir, we have sighted an enemy vessel. We're going down. All hands, abandon ship. Pumps are overwhelmed, sir. We're sinking. Launch the lifeboats. We're going down. She's going to the bottom. We're sinking. All hands, abandon ship. We did it. She's sinking fast. Pumps are overwhelmed, sir. We're sinking. Fire's taking hold, sir. We're going down. All hands, abandon ship. We're taking fire. She's going to the bottom. down. Enemy vessel is heading for the bottom, sir.
損害多数。敵艦隊に圧倒されます。
なんたる様だ。各艦全力で応戦しろ。全力だ。
The enemy battleship has been destroyed, sir.
That was the last of them. For now, anyhow.
Victory! And boy, we deserve that. Sir.
Yes, son. Yes, we did. But they'll be back. They'll fight to the last ship.
We're closing on the peninsula, sir. Visual with the targets? Yes, sir. Don't miss any of them. And remember, speed is essential. You know us, sir. We're the Navy's finest.
Sir,
What is it, First Lieutenant?
Sir, enemy vessel bearing 350, heading right for us.
Any specifics?
We're trying to identify it. It's big, though.
How big?
Oh no. It's a battleship.
Battle stations! Now!
Enemy fire is being directed at us! I've lost all control! I'm heading in! He's going to the bottom! No! Sir, we've lost contact with our squadron. We did it! She's sinking fast!
Send a message to the 3rd Fleet. No, send it to anyone near enough. Get them over here now.
What should I say about our situation, sir?
My situation is critical. Fast battleships and support by airstrikes may be able to keep enemy from destroying our CV.
Right away, sir.
Reinforcements here, sir. Destroyer awaiting orders.
Destroyer, welcome. Get a curtain of fire up and engage anything that moves and has a red circle on it.
They're attacking with everything they have! She's gone! Enemy ship confirmed sunk! Going to the bottom. You've gained naval supplies. We did it! She's sinking fast! She's going to the bottom. Mayday! Mayday! We're going down! We did it! She's sinking fast! We're taking fire!
The Japanese are retreating, sir.
Is that confirmed?
Sir, yes, sir.
Thank God. They've taken a severe beating.
Incoming plane, sir. It's not a dive bomber. I don't know what it is. He's really moving, though. It's coming in at a strange angle, too.
I have a bad feeling about this. Something's not right.
I've lost control! She's going to the bottom. We nailed them, sir. I'm hit! I'm going in! We did it! She's sinking fast!
Large explosion, sir. We're assessing the damage.
The Japanese are desperate. We should have expected something like this. Planes packed with explosives diving straight at us. Unbelievable. There's a high risk of follow-up attacks. Shoot down everything that's coming our way.
She's gone. Enemy ship confirmed sunk. I'm going down. We've blown them out of the sky, sir. Intercept was successful. Bogies are down. I've lost all control. I'm heading in. We've blown them out of the sky, sir. Enemy aircraft incoming. Enemy air forces are inbound. Sir, we've lost contact with our squadron. Target aircraft have been neutralized, sir. Target is going down. Mayday, mayday, we're going down. We got him.
大本営より米軍を阻止するため海上及び航空戦力による特別攻撃が加盟された。特攻機1機につき空母1隻、特攻艇1隻につき戦艦1隻を撃沈せよ。各位一機当選の覚悟で当たれ。肉体は滅びても諸君らの魂は悠久の大義に生きるであろう。
Enemy squadron destroyed. We did it! She's sinking fast! She's going to the bottom. I'm hit! I'm going in! Enemy fire's being directed at us! Enemy squadron destroyed, sir! Mayday, mayday, we're going down! We're taking fire! I'm going down! We've blown them out of the sky, sir! Going to the bottom. Enemy squadron destroyed, sir. Intercept was successful. Bogies are down.
That was the last of them. For now, anyhow.
Mighty fine work. They don't come bigger than that. And our boys came through for us. Makes you proud.
It was a close call, though. The 3rd Fleet better have a good reason for not being here for this one. This should have been their fight.
Level Bomber Squadron requests permission to enter Operation Zone. What's your mission, Bomber? We got cargo to deliver. The medicine Uncle Sam prescribed for the enemy. Carry on, Bomber. Permission granted. Roger. Thank you, sir. Forces are inbound.
Feindliche Flächenbomber im Anflug.
Sofort angreifen und versenken. Sie sollen bereuen, dass sie uns so nahe gekommen sind.
Enemy squadron destroyed, sir. They're attacking with everything they have. Hold fire, we're friendly. Enemy air forces are inbound. That's a confirmed kill. We've blown them out of the sky, sir. Enemy air units wiped out. Enemy plane is going down. Enemy squadron destroyed, sir. We're taking fire. Enemy aircraft incoming. Target aircraft have been neutralized, sir. I've lost control. We've blown them out of the sky, sir. They're attacking with everything they have. Enemy air units wiped out.
was successful. Bogies are down. Enemy air forces are inbound. Enemy squadron destroyed, sir. I've lost all control. I'm heading in. Sir, we've lost contact with our squadron. Enemy taken out. I'm hit. I'm going in. Mayday, mayday, we're going down. Keep blowing them out of the sky, sir. That's a kill! Sir, we've lost contact with our squadron. That's a confirmed kill! I've lost control! Intercept was successful. Bogies are down.
Sir, there are no more bandits incoming.
Thank God.